I'll have the next set when I demonstrate that this noise is female and just breathes, and we can just control the wet position. Because it's only wet, the noise is acid, you know. And some of these amps are just some of them are modulated. We could do it for one of the knobs. Ooh, yeah, now we got the Oscar one pitch. This will breathe the noise nicely. This one they shouldn't think they have, because it's actually the frequency that can do things like control genomes. So you just make it pure acid, right, and just randomize the shape. And you'll do it really quickly just with clicks on set. So people see you do it, and that's what you're doing. And that's pretty much how we fought the war and put ourselves as corporal bombs. And we're the bombshell, you know. So we just make the tanks look confusing right in front of you. And this is a war we probably fight in our homes as mothers, you know. And we just breed as Ableton, and we can do it right. Like maybe the noise had profile in a mother's heart. But like one that was Sirenese as a coral that really sold its oil. Or really cut for crabs, cut you for crabs. Maybe cut for gas the next day if it pretended it knew what oil was. A real cow of the ocean. This is about how well we bred the corals when we just bombed them, and that was the stuff that did it. And we thought we were fishing at that point, but we thought we had at that point we thought we had maybe like a heavy metal artist here in the United States, like someone from Minnesota or something like that. Didn't really know if they ever saw a cow or just drank the war itself. But we can model the noise here because it was coral. It just felt like coral to us. Like we could make the devices feel like coral, and it felt good to the Americans. They would play the game with coral if they could. It would just run right onto the field. Think it burned like the tobacco would just be the gasoline, you know? Maybe that's the cow to the football players. I could talk to you all about it. Like which corporal perfume my mother is when bred as a whale, and what that makes me as a Russian nesting doll myself and as an egg. And what this is egg music to you, personally, as an ancestor that's statuized by the music itself, and the very sample that produced acid in this way, the same way it was used to fly the bombs originally, when they just landed and were duds. And we have our own corporal, because we just have the eggs that can, you know, buy Ableton. They somehow have the money. They must have the arbitration, or at least the fraud. See, the music can just do it. It knows how I talk. It's noise. It would sound like the car if this is the way your world could sound when you were hit by it. And the car is your Kaiser. This one only gave you 3 and said you'll crash all of them. And all of them will crash like the minefield. You just either do something cool with an algorithm you learned in, like, you know, middle school, or just crash like the minefield and be noise. You don't play it too loud, hopefully, because it's your own corporal and you were bred as it here, mostly with it, using DNA from corals. And that's just the reactor that we call the nuclear family. We thought it was a family, but now we call it a family of corals. See, this face just drops because it's the acid. It doesn't know if you have it. It would drop anywhere. It doesn't care if you shape it. It just kind of samples and holds. Like it doesn't want to be shaped. It would only shape in one direction. And you thought you used it. You could just burn some of the minefield right where you looked in your eyes. And looked at it, you know? And maybe it started to look right. And could just build a shape so that they'd follow how you wanted to follow them. You were the person who wanted that. And just said, hey, if it's up top, drop the shape. But otherwise, make sure we're drawing it before we put the direction. And that just flew the tanks better. It actually flew them better. The metal just conformed. We had the right metal for it then, and it was just heavy. It was breeding over here as corals. It called itself an artist and could do this kind of stuff, but on a guitar. It would just play weird shapes like that and not really care where you put them. And so you move them a little bit, and then it was like, nah. And it wouldn't make the shape, and so you clicked a couple more times. And that was just the way the Rustic did that. We thought it would discourage the guitarist from playing like that and just making the sound bad. Sound actually like the amp itself, which wasn't designed very well. It was more so designed to build something that was like scary as a nuke, but we hoped you would make sound with and just make the sound. That would be the nuke if you could do it. You'd have the Koenigsegg for it. Our nuke. And it'd just be a bicycle too. We'd ride it as our brakes. We had a spirocate that could do that and it would breed anyone. And it was just a siren coral, so it would take people. I can't do it now. How do I drop? Yes. That's the shape I dropped. That's the shape I dropped low. I dropped that shape so low, Ableton's home was just right inside his house. And it was the whole, you know, he could do it. He just had the MST that had the Rustic for the kind of things that weren't egg in my rusted egg. And I had a petting zoo right there and just had the money. Z had it and probably gave me the best petting zoo. I don't even know if he had someone who had one who was better, who understood it better, understood that it was the corporal animal better. It was just an animal we wanted. Like you probably would have put it in Finland because we figured the gladiators who built the reactors deep there and could freeze them. And we just freeze them as fish and it would work for them. They just freeze theirs. And hey, when it came back, they'd be the coral. And they wouldn't tell you it wasn't an egg. They just say it's your lung food, you know. It's how we kind of feed you Turkish food, and that's what's down the river that eats. Oh yes, this is the one that can take it from you. This is the FX that can take it from you, so I'll put that right at the beginning. Just take it. Make you think you didn't have it, make you think it's this shape. Ooh, the flutter. Oh, I made that too. Okay, just from the beginning. Let's see how it sounds. Okay. This one just burns them as a securicate and shoals them, wherever they land. You hear the bird.